Hello, and welcome to the Crypto Beat, where we discuss what's happening right now in the crypto space. My name is Tim Copeland. I'm the editor-in-chief of the blog. Joining me today, we have the Bitstamp CEO Jean-Baptiste Graftieaux. Welcome to the show. How are we doing?
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Very good. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, before we get started, as always, I want to mention the blog's having its first ever crypto event. It's called Emergence. It's got a stacked lineup. It's going to be more than 120 speakers, all descending on Prague. The event's going to be great. I did the agenda myself, so I know it's good. We've got some really interesting panels. And yeah, super excited for it. If you want a 20% discount code, use the phrase the Crypto Beat, all one word, all lowercase, for 20% off. Awesome. Now onto the podcast. So the big news earlier this week was that Bitstamp is in the process. Earlier this year was that Bitstamp is in the process of being acquired by Robinhood for $200 million. How did all of this come about?
Yes, Tim. Yeah, that was the big news for Bitstamp back in June, where we have the opportunity of Robinhood to take over the business. That will take probably another 6 to 7 months until Q2 next year to have the transaction completed. We are going through the regulatory change of control as we speak. Since we have more than 50 regulators at Bitstamp today, it will take us some time to get all the regulatory approvals. We see, of course, the transaction being very exciting. Robinhood being a fantastic company with excellent product user experience, very strong team as well with a lot of crypto knowledge, and the synergies that we are foreseeing with the combination of the two companies are around Bitstamp can bring the institutional business. We have very strong institutional business today. Our footprint in Europe and our packages of licenses as well. And very recently, we got a MiFID license, which will allow us to offer crypto derivatives, but also any tokenized assets that we could offer in the future on the exchange. So very exciting news, a lot of synergies, and hopefully the transaction will close at some point in Q2 next year, probably at some point in May or June. That's what we are anticipating. So yeah, big news for us and very exciting time for Bitstamp and all the Bitstampers.
Cool. So why did Bitstamp choose to sell to Robinhood?
I think, the combination of the two businesses is extremely powerful. Robinhood being very strong in the US, Bitstamp being strong in Europe and also in APAC. So from a geographical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, to have the combined business in the crypto market. Beside that, we have a very strong institutional business, which will be very complementary to the retail business that Robinhood has at the moment. So for us, with the different products, different segments, excellent crypto knowledge on both sides, and also regulatory first and security first, it was making a lot of sense for the shareholders to align on a share purchase agreement back in June and try to complete the transaction at some point, next year. So very exciting time, a lot of synergies between the two businesses.
Cool. And how will the businesses work together? Like, will the Bitstamp brand continue to exist, or will it sort of get subsumed by the Robinhood brand?
Yeah, it's a very good question. That's actually what we are also discussing on both sides at the moment. I don't think we have a clear-cut answer as we speak. I think we'll have more clarity at some point early next year before the completion of the transaction. So very much to come on the branding aspect, but of course it's on our radar and part of our daily conversation with the Robinhood team, definitely.
Okay. For a long time, Robinhood has been sort of crypto adjacent. I think it sort of changed a bit when it listed Dogecoin. Started seeing like revenues from crypto picking up. Recently, it seems to be going a lot more heavily into crypto. Like it listed WIF like yesterday, I think it was. How much do you think Robinhood is going to continue to embrace crypto as a whole?
Yes, I think, that specific transaction is probably a testimony as well that Robinhood is taking crypto very seriously as part of its development, international development and strategy. As you mentioned, there has been more and more listing on Robinhood in the last couple of weeks. We saw XRP as well and Pepe also. So they are really, they are very large, even today in the crypto industry, especially in the US, making investments in a crypto exchange like Bitstamp. So we anticipate Robinhood to grow and to invest even more in their crypto business line to try to gain market share and to accelerate outside the US, especially with Bitstamp as an entry door for the European market and possibly to the APAC market where we are already in place. We have a license in Singapore that Robinhood could piggyback in the future to accelerate not only on the retail side, but institutional side of the crypto market as well. So I would say in a nutshell, yeah, that's this acquisition is a testimony as well of Robinhood's, I will not say doubling down, but investing in crypto and enlarging products, segmentation, and international footprints in the crypto market.
Cool. And you were recently awarded a MiFID license. Do you think regulations in Europe are getting better for crypto?
Yeah, so if we look at our portfolio of licenses today, we have payment license, we have many crypto licenses, and during the crypto winter, what Bitstamp has been building essentially is a crypto derivatives business line. So we managed to obtain a MiFID license a few weeks ago, back in November, end of October, early November, which will allow us essentially to offer regulated crypto derivatives to our customers. And beside that, looking at potentially offering tokenized assets on the exchange, which is a market which is evolving very rapidly. And we want to be like a kind of early adopter to offer tokenized assets to our customers. I think the good thing in Europe is MiCA, obviously, which is coming in a month's time, which will clarify and bring a set of rules for all crypto players. I think for Bitstamp, we have always been supportive of regulation to bring maximum clarity in the ecosystem. Why? Simply because regulation and clarity will give trust, and we will see possibly more entrants, retail and institutional, onto the market. So yeah, with the evolution of MiCA coming, I think that will be extremely, I would say, transformational for the market from 2025, raising also a new set of protections for consumers, regulatory of the clarity of the regulatory landscape, which, as you know, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, we were a bit in a regulatory transition with a framework which was not entirely clear, but MiCA will change all of that. So I think this is a very good sign as well for the market to support future expansion, investment, and more retail and customers entering the crypto space. So very supportive from our perspective.
Yeah, awesome. And you mentioned that this enables you to add derivatives. How would that sort of be a new sort of tool in your arsenal? Like, how much would that boost Bitstamp's business?
Yeah, so looking at the crypto market, the derivatives market is 3 times bigger than spot, in terms of volume. So what we expect is that over time, probably not overnight, but over time, being in a position to offer crypto derivatives, that will essentially, of course, attract more traders, increase our volume on the exchange, and possibly, be in a position where today we are processing more than 1 billion a day. We could be in a position to process 2, 3, 4, 5 billion very rapidly. So that was the rationale behind for us is we are offering spot, we are offering lending and staking, but we were not offering derivatives today. So that was really to make sure we have a full offering to our customers, which will be probably instrumental for our growth moving forward.
All right. And then so could we see Robinhood offering crypto derivatives through Bitstamp then?
Possibly, after the acquisition, with the synergies that and the products we can bring to Robinhood. Of course, Robinhood will be in a position to offer crypto derivatives via Bitstamp, which we expect in 5-6 months' time, from now on. Robinhood does not offer crypto derivatives today, but they will be in a position to offer crypto derivatives post transaction via Bitstamp. Yeah.
Okay. And in June, Bitstamp delisted Tether's Euro stablecoin, citing MiCA compliance. What's the difference in that regard between the Euro stablecoin and the dollar stablecoin?
Yeah, so for us in Europe specifically, we will be supporting stablecoin which are MiCA compliant, and essentially you find about 8-9 different stablecoins, on Bitstamp today, which are or let's say MiCA compliant, or where there is an electronic money license supporting the stablecoin. Unfortunately, we had to delist, stablecoins which are not MiCA compliant, so that we can protect our stance, which is being regulatory first. And in that context, we had to unfortunately delist, Tether earlier this year. And as you know, and as you mentioned, MiCA will be also transformational. So from our perspective, yeah, it's really important that we are offering the assets which are compliant with the framework and the region where we are operating, essentially to protect our customers, from the exchange. So that's essentially the reason why we decided to delist essentially Tether some months ago.
Okay, but is USTD compliant with MiCA?
So if you look at Bitstamp today, you can offer, we have different regions. So we would be offering in some region an asset that we will not be able to offer in another one because of the local regulation. And this is exactly what happened, with Tether, is that Tether is available outside Europe, where we don't have any specific limitation to offer the asset. But of course, in Europe, because of the lack of MiCA, let's say, license or EMI license, not only for Tether, but generally speaking, we won't be able to either support the asset or to list simply the asset on the exchange. But it's more like a regional approach, depending on the local regulatory framework. So it's not like one size fits all, but we will have to look, country per country, region per region, to ensure that we can offer the most compliant experience to our users.
Okay, so is it currently available in Europe?
No, Tether is not. Other stablecoins are available in Europe. Like, we work with Société Générale. We have been listing their stablecoin, the EuroCB, which is fully compliant. And in other regions, for instance, Tether could be available if we don't have a local limitation to offer the asset. But it's not only for the stablecoin itself. I mean, it's generally speaking, we have a very stringent process for asset listing, which is validated by regulators where we are operating. So we will always stay, within the rules and the obligations that we have for the asset listing framework. So nothing specific to Tether. It's more the framework itself, where we want to be compliant everywhere where we are operating.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, and in September, we spoke to your chief commercial officer, Bobby, and he said that you're planning to expand your institutional business within Australia this year. How's the global expansion going?
Yes, absolutely. So what we do at Bitstamp for our institutional segment, we have a white label solution, which is called Bitstamp as a Service, which is super interesting in a sense that for a player which is willing to enter the crypto market, that partner does not have to develop a new exchange. They can integrate Bitstamp as a Service, white label solution, whereby we bring custody, we bring liquidity, we bring our more than 10 years of experience on the crypto market to allow our partners to go live and to offer crypto services to their end clients. So we work with several partners. I can name a few, like Stripe, for instance, or Swissquote, for instance, Revolut as well, where some of we are one of their partners to their crypto journey, where they are offering crypto services to their clients. In Australia, we have more like institutional traders at the moment that we are servicing from Singapore, from our team in Singapore. We see a few of them being extremely active on the exchange, which is great. And our willingness, of course, is to offer crypto services to Australia, but not only to many countries in APAC, like Philippines, Singapore, Hong Kong, to name a few there. So Australia, this is a country which is very relevant, but it's the same in LATAM. It's the same also in some key countries in Europe. We have a global footprint, and we try to provide the best services to all our users globally.
Okay, and talking of, global distributions. Yeah. You obviously process one of the main exchanges processing the Mt. Gox distributions. Yes. How do you think that sort of overall process went?
Yeah, so very, very interesting in the sense that there has been just a few exchanges in the world supporting Mt. Gox distribution. On Bitstamp, what we have seen is all customers reactivating their experience with Bitstamp to essentially receive the assets and being active on the exchange. And also, so there is a reactivation of customers, but we have seen also like new customers, reaching out to the exchange to take advantage of receiving assets from Mt. Gox. So it has been a lot of work. It has been a very long process, but we wanted to be one of the best actors, obviously, for the market, and enabling people to get back, the assets that were part of the Mt. Gox distribution. And I think for us, it has been positive experience with a very good return. And we see more and more clients, reactivating their experience with us. So overall, it's very positive, not only for us, but for the market, generally speaking, that we could support the distribution.
Okay, and has Bitstamp been involved with any of the Bitcoin ETFs in the US?
So directly, we are not necessarily involved, but indirectly, we are supporting all the ETF as a liquidity provider. So we are working with partners which are partnering with the ETF. So Bitstamp, if you want, is in a value chain, indirect value chain, where we can provide maximum liquidity for some of the ETF which are live. So we are also taking advantage of the ETF, but it's more in an indirect fashion, if I may say, via our partners.
Has it been good business?
It has been excellent business, I should say. I mean, volume are very high. There is a lot of transaction, generally speaking, on the market. So we are taking advantage of, this development in the crypto space. So it has been contributing quite a lot to our profitability this year as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do you think it's a lot of like hedge funds making like delta neutral trades or like capturing funding rates or anything, or do you think it's a lot of demand for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, there is a lot of demand for Bitcoin. I think the ETF is attracting a new wave of investors, which are not in the past years, who are not the crypto traders that we have seen until earlier this year or even last year. So I think it's opening the market to a new wide range of investors looking for an exposition to Bitcoin. From our perspective, it's essentially adding new traders, new family of traders looking for diversifying their portfolio and taking an exposition on digital assets, which was not necessarily the case, in the past years. That's how we would be looking at, customers being exposed to ETF nowadays. And we see a very interesting trend, and as you know, BTC and ETH and probably more assets to come in the future. So that's a very positive evolution for the market, for the industry, and we are part of the value chain. So it's really supporting our profitability for the year. Very, very positive experience so far via our partners.
Okay, and in the UK, currently they're sort of, as in the Bitcoin ETFs in the UK are currently only open to institutional clients. Do you think this, like, we should follow in the footsteps of the US?
I would say, if the ETN or ETF can help investors to get exposed to the crypto industry without going through a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange, I would be probably supportive of, of course, intensifying and enlarging the products to be offered not only to institutional but potentially to retail at some point. I think ETF has a very specific segment, and what we can see, as we mentioned earlier, is that maybe some people were not willing to be exposed in crypto in the past via a centralized or decentralized exchange, but they want to be exposed via an ETF. So I think it's just a new product essentially to be offered to the market and fit a segment which is willing to be exposed to crypto outside the traditional crypto market, if I may say so. I'm quite supportive. Ultimately, it's more exposition, more investors, so it's beneficial for the market, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit odd because, I mean, retail UK investors can buy Bitcoin. They can go to a crypto exchange, buy Bitcoin, but they can't buy exposure to the same asset via an ETF. It just seems a bit unusual.
It is unusual. Yeah, it's a bit. I agree with you. Absolutely.
Okay, and have you been watching Microstrategy's? I mean, obviously you can't really avoid it, but their massive Bitcoin purchases. And sort of everyone's been in favor of it, and then except maybe a little bit recently, some people are starting to question: is it going a little bit too far? Is it getting a little bit risky? Do you have any opinion on like? Could it, like, is it just safe for them to keep sort of using debt to buy more and more Bitcoin, or is it a point where it becomes a bit risky?
Yeah, I think let's put it like that. My belief is that, of course, they are making investments with informed decisions, data, and support from the shareholders, and the plan which has been in place now for some time. Is fully vetted by the shareholders. And if their desire is to get exposed more to crypto, to buy more BTC, I mean, this is first strategy, to the support from the shareholders. And of course, they see the market going to another level or an extra level over the coming years. So I think that's really part of their strategy, which is vetted by their partners. And it's very interesting, the move that they have on the market and buy so many Bitcoins and being exposed so much. But it looks like it has paid off so far. So that was probably a very positive and smart move, from the company and the shareholders. That's probably how I would look at it, because it's paying off 100%.
Yeah. Okay. And in light of the US election result, do you think are you looking at expanding your US business, or I guess obviously it might be a bit more complicated because of the Robinhood acquisition?
No, it's a good question, Tim. What's great, I think, for the market is with the election, there is optimism on the market. We have seen over the last 3-4 weeks a lot of volatility, and prices of the assets, increasing quite significantly. So there is a lot of optimism there, and hopefully that will lead to a regulatory landscape which will be more clear in the US. At the moment, it has been a lot of litigations to try to get some clarity on the landscape, but hopefully that will lead to more clear regulation, maybe a more friendly administration, and generally speaking, that will be also supporting the market with probably more traders or investors. So we see the US market as being very, very key for us and very, very attractive. But as you said, there is the Robinhood transaction in the middle at the moment. So let's see next year how does that look like. But I think the US market is recovering with the election and giving a lot of optimism to the crypto sphere. So that's also very exciting because the framework is clear in Europe with MICA in a month's time. It's also very clear in APAC, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Japan, in Australia. There are many countries where there is a clear regulation. And hopefully with the new administration, the landscape will be more clear, which will bring more investors, even more optimism, and that might be another trigger for a bullish cycle to come end of year or early 2025. So let's see, because we are in the middle of the transaction with Robinhood, so we don't necessarily know how it will look like from next year.
Yeah. Okay. And on the MicroStrategy note, I just was curious. Like, does Bitstamp hold any Bitcoin on its balance sheet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. We have some Bitcoin on our balance sheet, but not only Bitcoin. We have different digital assets that we have in our portfolio, and we have been accumulating some assets. The company is like 13 years old now, so we have been accumulating some crypto over time. And yeah, I cannot necessarily disclose the amount, but we have some of it. Let's put it like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then coming to markets, Bitcoin almost touched 100K recently.
Yes.
It got like maybe $500 away.
Yeah.
It's now back to like around 92. Do you think the momentum from Trump's victory has ended, or is there more to come?
No, I think it's more to come. It's very cyclical, as we know, and there's been a lot of volatility. It's true to say that the last 3-5 days have been more like in a trajectory where, as you mentioned, Bitcoin was very close to 100K. We are now at 92, and regardless of the current last 5 days, I think of course the market will pick up, and even more in 25, hopefully with the new administration, more clarity, more support, more optimism. So I think it's just probably a little bit of an effect over the last 5-7 days, and market will recover at some point, and hopefully pass the 100K mark at some point, very soon.
All right. Do you think it's happening this year or next year?
It's a very good question, Tim. Let's put it like that. I was hoping it would come last week, but I think it's probably over the next couple of weeks. I don't give any financial investment, obviously, but my strong belief is probably at some point in December.
Okay. And then the US is also sort of looking at establishing a Bitcoin reserve. Like, what impact do you think this could have?
I think it's a bit too early to say. I think it's a very interesting move, that we have seen recently. But from our perspective, I think we would like to see probably, more details, how it looks like, what's the mechanism behind. But of course, it's a very, very positive development for the ecosystem. Nevertheless, we need to understand more details, what it means, in practice.
Okay. And are you eagerly watching to find out who becomes the next chair of the SEC?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, that will be, as we hope all, a more friendly crypto person, obviously. So the good news in a nutshell is that there will be a new SEC chair. That's obvious. And hopefully that will be a person who can really understand the evolution of our market and be supportive of its innovation. So let's see who that will be. So we are quite excited as well with that change. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then on something a little bit more topical, obviously, like as a business focused very heavily on regulation, have you been seeing the sort of pump.fun live streams getting a little bit out of control with sort of people experimenting with sort of stuff that can be on there? I guess my question on that is sort of like, when you're doing a lot of work dealing with regulators, does this sort of thing make it like harder to sort of say how, sort of safe and compliant the industry can be, or does it not come up at all? Obviously, it's quite a new thing, but still.
It's a great question, Tim. We have been here, since 2011. So we went through, a lot of cycles, and we came from, no regulation to a regulatory framework in less than 15 years. In APAC, in Europe, also obviously in the US to a large extent. It's true to say that, our job at the time, 2014, 15 was to engage with regulators and legislators and essentially to try to give some education on crypto, what it is, what it means, the technology itself, the blockchain, and so on. So, there has been a lot of efforts, and not only Bitstamp, the entire industry at the time was meeting on a regular basis, and still the case today, really to try to work hand by hand with regulators and legislators to educate and to give them, maximum information, and also to help to shape regulation like MiCA, for instance. There has been a lot of input from the sector, really to try to get, the most balanced regulation, which is, I would say, friendly for the sector at the same time, but good enough for supervisors to monitor and regulate the crypto activity. And it's not, I will not say it's Bitstamp alone, it's really a combination consortium, all the regulated players, or at least willing to be regulated players, doing best effort basis, to go into that direction. We see so many working groups, and it's quite exciting to see that in less than 15 years, we managed to have, a proper regulatory framework almost everywhere in the world. And I think it's important, because with that framework, consumers will feel probably more protected. Players, will have a set of rules to comply with. So that will avoid probably a bit of the transitional aspect that we have seen in the last 5, 6 years, 7 years. And more clarity, will bring more trust, and more trust should bring more investors into the market. So I think that was very, very important, to get to that position. And I used to work in payments before crypto, and it was exactly the same, with in Europe, Payment Service Directive, Electronic Money Directive. It was more or less the same process, to educate and spend time with regulators and legislators to get a framework in place. And for crypto, it's exactly the same experience. But exciting to see that in less than 15 years, we are in that position today. More to come, obviously, but it's a very good step forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank JB for joining.
Thank you so much.
To follow us. Cheers. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube. Remember, we have a 20% discount for emergence using the code TheCryptoBeat. And make sure to read the blog for your daily crypto news. See you next time.